checks or common vulnerability or known vulnerability checks where it's looking for something in a known product, and then misconfigurations that are generally about the infrastructure, as to IIS or some type of web server based problem. So that's just for Scanner 1 for 2007. Scanner 2 for 2007, just get an idea of kind of the dispersion, and then Scanner 3, which ultimately performed the worst. And these, like in these numbers, it's raw category. So one find of a category equals 1, where there could be a bunch of variations, where you'll get a scanner and it'll say cross-site scripting, but it'll say there's 15 variations of cross-site scripting because it injected multiple parameters in the page with cross-site scripting, and all the parameters were vulnerable to cross-site scripting. So that's where we get the larger numbers from the first slide. And then this is the open source scanner from 2007 results. And here's 2008's results by categories, which that's interesting stuff, but I think this one is more meaningful because it shows the comparison between the two scanners between the 2 years. So this Scanner 1, one of the main commercial scanners, actually we did somewhat better this year than last year. And so actually the most improved category would probably be the cross-site scripting, in the sense that it didn't have those. But also, they add signatures, and our target also increased some of the checks. So to some extent, you'd expect some growth. But the path manipulation vulnerabilities actually stayed exactly the same, with the same ones still triggering.
Do you guys report the false positives to the scanning vendors?
No. That would, yeah, I mean, ultimately, it would be a lot of work. I mean, if they want to consult with us and pay us some money to do that, for sure.
That's what would lead to the most benefit from what you guys are doing. If you reported that to the vendors, then they could improve their products, so you won't have some.
Yeah. Last year, we ended up giving the vendors the target, so where they could do it themselves and ultimately take the ball and run with it. Because ultimately our time to do this type of research is somewhat limited, and it interferes with regular life. And I'm also kind of just against giving them free consulting and QA when they should have done it themselves. I mean, ultimately, I worked for a scanner company in the past, and the amount of time and money and thought that they put into QA was just, does the GUI blow up, and is it stability, and how many clicks to a scan? And so they're more worried about what I think is superficial concerns of what it looks like and what the user experience is in reporting. And it looks like I'm pretty much out of time, but here's the overall kind of vulnerabilities and the percentage change between 1 and 2. And so both of these are major commercial scanners. As you can see, one of them got a little better and one got a little bit worse. So there hasn't been much movement. And so here's some of my conclusions from this year's testing. I think the most improvement I've seen is in the cross-site scripting detection, in the sense that they just aren't looking for the script tag being inserted somewhere in the body, but they're actually looking, or at least one of the scanners was making sure that it wasn't in a text area, and so they actually improved the signature where they included the closing of the text area tag, and so they would break out. And so ultimately, we still think there's some work to be done in this area. And some of the other just kind of trends that we've seen in the market, like the number of scanners is actually increasing, and the number of people entering the web application security scanner market is increasing. And so we expect that there actually is going to be, if you were to test these new entrants, they're going to have a higher level of false positives. And that was one of the things we saw in 2007 with the newest scanner in the market actually had, orders of magnitude more false positives than the guys that had been in the market. So over time, you have some evolution evolution, which is probably because customers report the false positives and then they actually fix it because it's tracked as a bug then. Certainly your point's well taken that if we were to turn all these in, it would probably increase that. And so just some of the notable people entering the market.
I'm guessing that the raw number of false positives you have on those charts, it's not quite as bad as it looks because probably there's patterns, right? There might be one issue that's leading to 100 false positives.
Well, a lot of the signatures are atomic, and so they're not interwoven in with each other. I mean, it depends on the signature. Like you have these known signatures that are looking for, a specific problem in a specific product that's, so they have a URL that's very specific, that it's in this folder, inside of this subfolder, in this, and it's called, search PL. And that's that vulnerability. So they have atomic signature. Where there's other signatures that are like cross-site scripting signatures that, are, ultimately looking for cross-site scripting in any page. So they're more sophisticated in the sense that they're not just looking for a very simple match and looking for the 200K, we've talked about a lot. And so that already kind of talked about that. And then here's some strategies that I had to combat false positives. And it's ultimately employ experts to pre-configure scanners. So there is some benefit to having an experienced person doing the testing, even though the scanner itself can allow for a fairly novice user to be able to run it and generate results. It's the reliability of the results. You're going to get more reliable results from a person that has more experience in configuring the scanner. Ultimately, also, if you can use the scanner and instead of just setting it up and having it, crawl and scan at the same time. If you can go through and spend the time to crawl the application first and fill in all the forms and populate the forms with, data that's actually real, instead of allowing the scanner to go through and populate the forms with whatever random data it's going to populate, you can get more reliable results by spending that time going through the app and crawling it and getting a path through the app to where it's going to fill out all those pages. You're going to get deeper into the app because with some of the applications that I've looked at that have very large pages, like say for loan data where you're filling out. I mean, there's literally 30 or 40 input points. If you don't fill all those out, the page is going to error out no matter what. So you're never going to get to the pages behind that. So this is just one of the suggestions there. You can also potentially, request that the vendors actually validate their results. And last slide. Thank you for coming. Any questions?
Yeah, is the sample target site available on the project website?
No, it's not. But if you want to just email Tom, we can get that for you.